Let's go to Mason in San Ramon. Mason, what's happening? You're on the roast here on 95.7 The Game.
Hey, yesterday I called, but you guys called me Nathan.
No, we called you Nicholas. Oh, you're Mason. It was Nicholas on the board. It was Nicholas. But it's Mason. All right, Mason.
Okay. I don't think they should trade Aiyuk for a pick because I'm gonna refer to the Warriors here. Wiseman. They tried to get a really good pick with Wiseman. He ended up selling. He wasn't very good. And if the same thing could happen with Aiyuk to get a better pick, then I don't think it's worth trading him.
All right, Mason. Crack them books, Mason. Crack them books. He doesn't want to trade Aiyuk. Anybody want to trade Aiyuk out there? Day later. Anybody cool with trade Aiyuk?
We
like I see Xfinity Mobile Sex. Sorry, real quick, asking 408. If you get 7, Niners will trade up to take offensive tackle. No, where's the pick? Oh, 925. Aiyuk's going to Buffalo. Will the Buffalo Bills make a move today in this draft? Will they make a move?
I don't know what they're going to do.
They need a weapon, right?
You know how we talk about money? They gave Von Miller way too much guaranteed money.
No doubt.
I mean, they just did. He's an older player, and they gave him way too much guaranteed money. I don't know what they're doing. I really don't. I have no idea. I feel like they're drafting wide receivers because they have the maximum quarterback contract.
Well, Daniel Jeremiah has him taking an edge rusher, Marshawn Nealon out of Western Michigan, who's getting a lot of buzz here.
Oh, that's in the first round.
Yeah,
I'm talking about just in general what their philosophy.
Pick overall. Will they go heavy on the pick? Got to get Josh Allen some weapons, right?
I mean, they lost 2 wide receivers this year.
Stephon Diggs, Gabe Davis.
Yeah,
they do have James Cook in the backfield. Would they be interested in Brandon Aiyuk? Would Brandon Aiyuk be interested in going to Buffalo? He'd be the man up there.
I don't know. But I will say that, like, the more and more that I think about this is he brings up the number 2 overall pick, and we came back with the sound. Is Nick Bosa the greatest draft pick during the Shanahan era?
I'm not going to say greatest because it was a no-brainer. Well, some people want to Quentin Williams like yours truly, but I'm not mad at Nick Bosa.
So wait, I'm trying to keep up here. Is it the greatest?
No,
pick?
It's not.
Okay, what is?
It's not because it was kind of like Quentin Williams, Nick Bosa. You could go no wrong. It did
change their team.
It changed their defense a little bit. It did. Could make the argument that Debo is a better pick than Nick Bosa. 2nd round pick. You didn't know if he was going to pop. DK Metcalf was on the board.
Yeah, I didn't have Debo.
And you make Debo Samuel, you turn him into an all-pro and the player that he is today. Drake Greenlaw.
Yeah,
Fred Warner.
I was going to go Kittle before all those guys.
Kittle, you could say Kittle, but what about Fred Warner?
Fred Warner's been amazing.
He became the best linebacker of football.
Been amazing.
I mean, best linebacker of football.
But they had Fred Warner before Nick Bosa, and their defense wasn't anywhere close.
Well, they didn't have any defensive ends.
I know.
You got to have some pass rushers, but Fred Warner from day one started.
Okay.
Wore the green dot helmet, and he's become the best linebacker in football. Hands down.
I think he's on the short list. I don't think I would put Debo over Warner. And I don't think I would put Debo over Kittle. If we're going to go value like the way you were describing, I'd probably put Kittle just above him ever so slightly.
What if it's Brock Purdy?
Well, that was where I was going. Like, I think eventually if he ends up being that guy, like if they had won the Super Bowl, it would have been Brock Purdy.
Hands down, greatest draft pick ever.
I mean,
greatest draft pick ever for Shanahan Lynch, for sure.
I mean, it saved their jobs. I mean, I as I think about draft day, like Bosa and Debo and Warner and Kittle, I also think about what they did with Trey Lance. How many organizations can survive that trade?
Yeah.
And that guy playing 3 games and it just, I mean, they just pivoted right to Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy is one of the greatest draft picks of all time for this organization.
Yeah, I'm kind of
already. I'm in like a year and a half.
There. Yeah, I'm with you there.
I mean, think of how many 7th rounders in the the Niners. Dwight Clark was a 10th round pick, right? They don't even have 10 rounds anymore. So that's one of those ones that I'll always hold in high regard. Name another 7th round pick for the Niners that stuck around.
Nobody even knows. I don't remember one 7th round pick. Not one.
Adrian Colbert.
Not one. Yeah, Colbert. Yeah, but I don't remember those guys. I don't even think of those
Nate
guys.
Davis.
I don't even think of those guys. I think of the players, but I don't think about where they're picked. They're late round picks. They weren't memorable enough to be memorized like that. You know what I'm saying? Brock Purdy just threw for the most yards in franchise history. There's no doubt he may become one of the greatest picks all time in NFL history. Like, if he wins that Super Bowl, I truly believe he's one of the 5 greatest stories in North American sport history. Brock Purdy. That's how big this is. Like the last pick of the NFL draft. He's like the first Mr. Irrelevant to ever take a snap in a regular season game, correct? Like, think about that. Not only did he take snaps, he took jobs, and he became a captain. And now we got the owner talking about he's going to reset the quarterback market. You can't script this. You just can't. When we wrap our heads around what Brock Purdy has done and what he may become, he was the last pick of the draft, so there's no doubt. The no-brainer in Nick Bosa, the Fred Warner picks, the George Kittle picks, they're all great. But they're not greater than Brock Purdy.
Well, so
not even close.
Now that you've said all of that, don't you trust Brock, Kyle Shanahan, Lynch, the offense, that if they do move off of Brandon Aiyuk, they'll figure it out?
Yeah, but they may not figure it out this year.
That's an interesting point.
And aren't we in win now mode?
Yeah.
Aren't we in a situation where you got to maximize this Super Bowl window?
No doubt. But that's also like they made financial moves that are going to hurt the team in the interim, but it's about, reorganizing money. Like, for example, Eric Armstead. They're in win now mode, and they want to win. And Eric Armstead is a better player than whatever they have on the roster right now, right? To fill him up.
Well, it depends on who you ask, right? There's not a lot of Eric Armstead fans here. A lot of people, when he got cut, people say, well, he's not worth it.
No, they say worth it is a different conversation. If is he better, just an outright better player than the D tackle?
We don't know. Malik Collins may be good. We'll see.
All right.
We'll see. I don't know.
I mean, look, come on. He was a really good player for the Niners. He wasn't healthy enough that he was getting paid a lot of money. Like,
he was solid.
But in a vacuum, like, they're a better player with him. Right? And you're in win now mode anyway. So you make lots of moves on the roster left and right that maybe don't necessarily help you today, but it's about adding something else over there or about being better down the line over here.
Yeah, I don't know if I trust him next season. I trust Lynch and Shanahan to make the right decision. But if you're taking away his number one weapon is, but like I'm seeing Chicago Jason, he's saying Brandon Aiyuk is an easy replacement. Plenty of receivers in this draft. Okay. What's the hit rate on these wide receivers? How many wide receivers make it to their second contract with the team that drafted them? How many wide receivers just pop off the screen? Think about where you drafted Brandon Aiyuk and think about the value you got him at and think about what he's done. Because it ain't just, I know people say, well, I don't pay him to run block. Well, run blocking as a wide receiver is essential in this offense. For Shanahan, you better get physical at the wide receiver position. Aiyuk has done that. He's done that. Not to the level of Juwan Jennings, but he's done that. Okay, but Dwight Clark was a 10th round pick. How many times is that? There's going to be exceptions to the rule every single year. But it doesn't mean you're going to make the right pick. How many misses have the Niners had at the wide receiver position?
They've had misses at every position.
They've misses at every position.
Reggie McGrew. And,
so I want to see what it looks like with Brock Purdy. Like, I trust Lynch and Shanahan to make the right move. Do I trust Purdy to thrive without a top-flight wide receiver if they don't replace Brandon Aiyuk? Hell, I don't know who they're going to replace him with. I don't know if these guys can translate to the league.
I mean, look,
it sounds good.
There were times during the Super Bowl and in the playoffs when Deebo Samuel was on the sidelines and he was throwing to Chris Conley. Now that he wasn't the primary guy, you still had Aiyuk out there, but like they connected on some big plays in the playoffs to a guy that most people didn't even no one had in fantasy, let alone being one of the top 3 wide receivers.
But it wasn't like they were giving him high value. What did he catch, like 2 passes in the postseason?
No, but I'm just saying, like you got to be deeper at that position.
You do have to be deep.
And I think that they need to draft multiple guys there.
Yeah, which is why, though, I would rather keep Aiyuk at the end of the day and draft another. I would draft a receiver anyway to add to Aiyuk and Deebo. Because what was a big conversation we had at the Super Bowl when they lost to Kansas City? It's like, damn, they just had one more weapon. Because when Deebo went down, that offense looked very, very stale.
No doubt. But if, the running back who's an all-world player held onto the ball, if the offensive line gave Purdy more time. Like, there's a lot of ifs.
Purdy's got to make throws, too. He missed some throws.
Yeah, he did in that game.
He's not exonerated.
He did.
Shanahan's yelling, hey, look at McCaffrey. But Purdy's looking the other way on 3rd and 5, and he gets the ball batted at the line of scrimmage. How many balls got batted at the line of scrimmage in that Super Bowl by the Kansas City Chiefs? 2 or 3?
Two at least.
Chris Jones had to go. He felt like he had more.
The linebacker, 51.
They were making plays all over the place. So I would add to the wide receiver room even if I kept Brandon Aiyuk.
Well, I would too. But here's the thing. If you keep Brandon Aiyuk, you have to sign him long term because that wide receiver that you draft, I want him to be either a complementary player to Aiyuk or he can be a slot player. If you get rid of Aiyuk, I have to get someone who can line up on the outside on that line of scrimmage. And that's not easy. Just a different receiver.
And you know what?
Not all receivers can do that.
And what's not easy for college wide receivers? How many college wide receivers get jammed at the line of scrimmage?
Not many because there's such a wide formation and they're running so many smoke screens. And
so there's going to be an adjustment for a wide receiver coming from the college ranks. How do you beat press man?
Brian Thomas is a great example of like a guy that he didn't do a lot of work in the middle of the field. A Shanahan offense, you're going to do a lot of work in the middle of the field.
A lot of drags and crossing routes.
Yeah.
So
does he have that in the bag and he just didn't show it, or does he have to learn it?
How do you beat press man? How do you run drag routes? How can you read coverages? How many different coverages, sophisticated coverages are they running in college? There's a few teams like Michigan, Alabama, they're running NFL schemes. You got Saban, you got Harbaugh and this crew, they're running NFL schemes. But how many teams are running NFL schemes defensively? So how do you read cover threes, cover twos, all this stuff, nickels, dimes? There's an adjustment period for a wide receiver coming into the NFL. Now, some guys could just pop right away. Justin Jefferson popped right away. But I felt like Joe Brady had an NFL-type style offense at LSU with Joe Burrow and Justin Jefferson and who's by the other guy on the other side, Jamar Chase. But it's an adjustment period. So you got to think about all that, plus the complexity of Shanahan's offense, especially for the wide receiver spot and the timing routes that they run. So I would rather add and keep Aiyuk as opposed to moving off of Aiyuk and drafting a wide receiver, basically saying, hey, I need you to replace Aiyuk. You're going to line up here. You're going to be opposite of Deebo Samuel, especially if I'm going to be considering moving on to Deebo next year.